What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. Where here you can find daily videos covering mainly the NBA and NFL, but also a little bit of NHL, MLB sprinkled in. And today, in the episode, we're going to just talk about a couple trades, possible trades happening in the NBA and also MLB and the Rafael Devers trade, and then a quick preview of tonight's NHL Stanley Cup Finals game. But with that being said, pretty straightforward. Yesterday we did a tier list for NFL offenses. I'm going to do a defense one. So if you're into the NFL, go ahead, check that out. Let me know what you think. Agree, disagree with me in the comments. Always excited to debate people down there. But with that being said, the first thing I want to talk about was the Rafael Devers trade in the MLB. I'm a Twins fan. For better for worse, so kind of take it how it is. But the Rafael Devers trade definitely shocked me and a lot of Red Sox fans and basically the whole MLB world as it kind of came out of nowhere after sweeping the Yankees. Looked good. Things were up. Red Sox finally got back above 500. They trade Rafael Devers in what was kind of, a big surprise. But there was obviously the drama, in the offseason when they signed Bregman. And they said he'd be playing third base, and Rafael Devers didn't want to play anywhere else and was kind of pissed about that and having to be a DH. So there was obviously that drama. And after a little bit of a rough start to the season, he really settled in. And Rafi's one of the best hitters in baseball. But, given his kind of conditioning, the contract, and all that, the Red Sox management just kind of felt it was best to move off from him. How would he age gracefully? For the Giants, I like the move. It's a power bet. Taking on 10 years of that deal is very risky, but he's going to be one of the best hitters, at least I believe, the next 5 years. Kind of the second half of that contract is where I have question marks. But he is an awful fielder. There's no doubt about that, and I understand why they want to play Bregman there. He has one of the best gloves in the game still. And fortunately, for the Red Sox, I think it was kind of one of those decisions where I kind of, with them for why they did it as well, kind of get off of it and, find other ways. They're definitely going to miss him this year, but find other ways to, use that money that they would have spent on him to kind of, because the Giants took on that full contract to kind of maximize elsewhere. And I think, it's kind of a big gamble, but I think it will end up working out. It was just kind of, so interesting last minute, and the timing was also weird. But, we've experienced that this whole, these last couple months, anyone is allowed to get traded. We saw the Mavericks, the Luka Doncic trade. Just happened last second. The Karl Anthony Towns trade for me as a Timberwolves fan, the evening before training camp starts, he gets traded for Julius Randle and DiVincenzo, one of the biggest trades we've seen in recent memory. It's kind of taught in all four sports, anything can happen, and that's what we saw here. I kind of like the move for both teams. The Giants have been really good this year. They add another bat. The Red Sox get off that contract that I think, may help them, especially a couple years down the line, but they are going to miss him in their offense. But, they can to do the momentum last night, Giolito pitching a shutout. So, shout out the Red Sox. It'll be interesting to see, who can kind of step up for them in this replacement and how the fans respond to it. Because, if they start underperforming, that offense looks bad, you're definitely going to get some boost because the Red Sox management has been very questionable over the last couple of years, kind of cheap in spending and, kind of lost touch with the fans and then trading away, kind of their last piece, from both the Bogarts, Betts era. So kind of moving off from him, how it all come around. We shall see. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, but wanted to get that one off first. And then next up, in the weekend, Desmond Bane is going to the Orlando Magic, one of the best shooting guards in the league for the Grizzlies over these last couple of years. And in return, the Grizzlies get 4 first-round picks. They also got KCP and a couple other players involved in the trade, but mainly, it's surrounding those first 4 picks. And for both teams, I understand it. The Magic, you're getting a premier shooting guard that's one of the best shooters. As a Timberwolves fan, I all know too well from that postseason a couple of years ago where he really broke onto the scene. He helped lead the Grizzlies to a couple 50-plus win seasons, a postseason appearance this year. And, he's one of the best shooting guards in the league. But for the Grizzlies, it was kind of clear while this young core a couple of years ago looked like, the brightest team, 2 seed back-to-back seasons, 56 wins, 51 wins. It was clear they weren't going to get over the hump with this team despite, and that's been due to multiple reasons, Ja and his suspensions and just kind of, never staying healthy. Brandon Clark can never stay healthy. Jaren Jackson's dealt with some issues here and there. And then just kind of the supporting cast around him has faded away with just different guys coming into the mix. But for Memphis, and then just kind of firing the head coach Taylor Jenkins at the end of the season. It's been a kind of a mess. I'm curious what they will do. Will they try and sell off John next? This is kind of a rebuilding. I understand you kind of have to retool. So you get it, and you get some veteran presence in there. KCP, who's coming off a really rough year shooting the ball, but he can still provide some valuable defense. And then obviously those 4 first-round picks is kind of what puts it into perspective for Memphis as they kind of want to, retool. Is a retool around Ja or just a retool around Jaren Jackson? It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, because Ja has been one of the more puzzling players, most controversial players over the last few seasons. When he's on the court, he's still super talented, but that shot hasn't really gotten developed, and just kind of his off the court antics, have been a problem for the Grizzlies. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of what happens there. But that was a big trade. I kind of like it for both teams. For the Magic side, you needed some shooting. You're one of the best defensive teams in the league last season, but one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. You had Paulo and Franz who could score, but not at the best efficiency, and then just the shooting around them let them down. Hopefully, getting Desmond Bane is definitely going to help. That one of the best 3-point shooters can just get you 20 points tonight when needed to take some of the pressure off Franz and Paulo, and then hopefully Jalen Suggs back if he to that 40% 3-point shooter, and then provide that elite defense. That could be a scary backcourt. So I do like Magic. People say it's given up a lot, but as I said, for the Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert, they gave up a lot of players, a lot of picks, but that's not really accumulated. The Jazz have been one of the worst teams in the league last year, while the Timberwolves have made it to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. So sometimes you have to give up a lot, just try and get over the hump and make some deep playoff runs. So I like the trade for the Magic, but I also understand it for the Grizzlies as well. And Desmond Bane was probably the most valuable player for the Grizzlies outside Jaren, just with that defense he could provide, that proof jump shot. But I think they'll want to keep Jaren Jackson around, which would be smart just because of his defensive versatility and his improved offensive game. Then with that being said, the other big in the NBA is, what is Kevin Durant going to do? Where is he going to get traded to? It is interesting because for a while, it may actually thought like my Timberwolves might get him, but unfortunately for me, I guess, because I would love to see KD and Ant together, he just doesn't want to come to Minnesota, and I think that's due to just the state income tax. He's had to play in Cali before, in Arizona, and he wants to just be in a warm weather place, like those spots, but without taxes. So that's why obviously he's targeting Miami and the Houston teams with the Spurs and Rockets. And for KD, I find it interesting. I kind of agree, disagree. I get why. Those are some of the best states, taxes, no state tax. So there's that. And the Spurs are up and coming, and the Rockets, obviously the 2 seed last year. I can get it. I can get behind those. The Heat one I still don't really get, because if the Heat are trading Kevin Durant, will they have to give up a Tyler Hero or someone like that? And the Heat already aren't really that great. Either the 10 seed that's not going to play in, but the Cavs, it was one of the most dominant series wins in playoff history, just how dominant the Cavs were. So I'm not really, I can't get behind that one, but the Spurs and Rockets would be fun to watch. But it just comes down to who's going to give the best package. And I think reports came out that they're a little bit underwhelmed with the packages. So, and I heard the Suns were asking for Stephon Castle or the number 2 or number 3 pick. And if I'm the Spurs, I'm not doing that, just given KD's age and him wanting a new contract because he only has 1 year left on his deal. I would not do that. I think if the right package prevents itself, and you can get rid of someone like Devin Vassell instead in some picks, maybe like the 14th pick, but not the number 2 pick or 3 pick that they have in this draft. So I understand why the Spurs wouldn't want to do that. But for the Suns, it's going to be interesting, how high value they, let this ride with Durant, because they do want to get a trade done before the NBA draft, which is in a couple weeks. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what value he can provide to a team. But him and either one with the Rockets would provide some necessary scoring, because like the Magic, we saw how good the Rockets could be defensively, while they were definitely better offensively than the Magic, they also had their limitations, which is why they ultimately lost in round 1, just because they couldn't get enough consistent scoring with guys like Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, and Sengun, who can be inefficient at times, and Fred VanVleet. So having KD there would be a huge spark to a team that's already ascending, but also with the Spurs, Wemby back, Chris Paul still there, Stephon Castle had one of the best rookie seasons this past season. So it'd be exciting to see either one of those teams. Unfortunately for me, like I said, I would love to see him and Ant team up, but people are taking tweets back from like 2009 where he said he never wanted to play in a cold weather. But who knows? Maybe he changes his mind because we've seen people change their mind. Jimmy Butler not wanting to go to Golden State originally in Phoenix, but ending up Golden State, and we saw how successful that was for them before Steph Curry got injured. So yeah, that's exciting. But it'll be interesting to see kind of where he goes and kind of grade the trade from there. And then with that being said, last thing to quickly recap will be the NHL game. Game 6 tonight. Florida looks to end it after a dominant game of 5 win in Edmonton. I was kind of shocked by that. I think Edmonton thought after the Game 4 comeback would have rode the momentum in home, but that's not it. And the story's been Brad Marchand. Man, what a pickup he has been, just thriving in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think he scored in every game. He provided 2 more goals in Game 5 for Florida. I mean, it's just been amazing what he's been able to do, and just the resiliency of a Florida team that was on the verge of going up 3-1. They were up 3-0. They go down 4-3 in that Game 4. They come back, score last second, still lose in OT. It's a heartbreaker. Now I have to go back to Edmonton. It feels like we blow it. No, they just come out, punch them in the face, set the tone early, go up like 3, able to earn an easy 5-2 victory. But Edmonton did have their chances, so I shouldn't say easy. They still, flashed. McDavid was able to get a goal and just play make. But, unfortunately, now Game 6 is tonight. Florida's back home. I think this will be a very fun game. I'm expecting Edmonton to give it their all. They were so close last year after being down 3-0, coming all the way back. This year, I think once again, this has to be. Sorry about that. Mike got unmuted there for a sec, but I think it's going to be interesting to see David score and follow up that playmaking. So I'm excited to see what tonight has to offer. But you know what? With that being said, I'll probably ride with Edmonton. But I think Florida tonight gets it done. They're just shown a resilient team, I think, throughout the season with the Kachuk injury, coming back after blowing a 3-0 lead last year, winning it, and then riding the momentum into now. They've been dominant, and they just found a way. And that Brad Marchand pick has been huge. Kachuk, Barkov, Reinhart has shown up at different times. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to Bobrovsky. Playoff Bobrovsky is a real thing. And just more questions for me with Edmonton's goaltending. So I think Florida will win an exciting game. I think 1-2 goals, maybe 3-2, 4, get going. Either way, but I'm going to ride with Florida at home. But let me know in the comments what you think. Who do you think will pull the win? Always excited to get your predictions down below. Let me know what you think of the trade as well for the Magic and Grizzlies with the Desmond Bane. Let me know who you think won that trade. This is a very exciting time in the league. We're going to see a lot more trades going down, especially in the NBA, NHL, and MLB as we get closer to trade deadline. But with that being said, as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.